Good morning, video games. Welcome to Filthy Casuals, a podcast about video games hosted by three very kind and extremely knowledgeable boys. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Tommy Dassolo, and with me, as always...
Ben Vanel here. It's that beautiful, wonderful time of year, boys. It's Games Showcase season.
Yeah, baby. For a second, they're like, it's that time of year. Made me think of like a love song dedications type radio intro.
It's Valentine's Day.
But call in and dedicate a song to saying goodbye, girlfriend, because video games are coming back.
This one's going out to Master Chief.
Don't take that helmet off, baby, but still have a sexy.
You can leave your helmet on.
This one's going out to a sweet little piece of tech called the PSVR2.
Oh.
I hope you're not feeling lonely tonight.
Well...
You'd be feeling pretty like what one game is the loneliest number.
Yeah.
The second loneliest number, PSVR2. The third loneliest number, ADAMKNOX. 8 letters, Adam Knox.
That's right.
That's my name as well.
Yep.
ADAMKNOX.
Well, you threw an E in there for some reason.
Yeah, Adam Knox. It's
Knox.
a phonetical spelling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for being back, video games over summer. Although, will they be?
Yeah.
Next week we'll have seen all the showcases. Mm-hmm. This week we've seen the Sony one.
Yep.
This wasn't the agreed upon order.
No.
But for the Summer Games Fest thing, which is not E3 but the biggest sort of, I suppose, showcase thing that goes around this time of year now, Jeff Keighley did like a Twitch Q&A.
He did, yeah.
Live stream.
Yeah.
That...
I think he was wise to get ahead of the critics.
I feel like he did something similar last year, maybe just a tweet or something. Where
well, there was less to play down last year, I guess.
Sure.
That's the best thing that you can do if you're any company doing one of these presentations, is to just be really clear about what people might be seeing, but more importantly, what they won't be seeing.
Yes.
He was managing expectations and saying... Look, hey, it'll be a great show. He's a salesman forever, but that it won't be a ton of massive new stuff that you might not.
But
have
you
heard
still
of.
even Nintendo, they tend to go like more and more. They'll be like focusing on mostly games that are coming out in the first half of this year, and then people still latch on and go, They said mostly though. That's room for that's room for them to announce fucking.
They're not managing an ARG. Like they're not leaving you hints.
Yeah.
They're just take them at their word.
Yeah.
Keighley in particular, what were the takeaways? Don't manage your expectations. I think he said definitely no big stinger at the end.
Yeah.
Or one more thing.
He said
Video
no one
games are
more
for
thing.
babies. Grow up.
He said he's never done one more thing at the Summer Games Fest or the Game Awards. I never really took note of that, but he said like as a concept, I hate it.
Yeah.
Which I disagree with. We're all fans of the One More Thing.
I can
it's
see
a bit
it.
of showmanship.
Being considered.
Showmanship. Who would have been the greatest showman? I guess
Hugh Jackman. We all know that.
Yeah, when he presented the Xbox showcase.
Yeah.
Perfect dark.
Well,
maybe, but
The first time you saw a One More Thing,
yeah.
Oh my God!
That's
but
the
now
thing, though.
the expectation of there'll always be a One More Thing.
Yeah.
I
Terrible.
can see if you were deep into the showcase presenting world,
Sure.
it would be considered a bit hack.
Yeah, it's a bit passe.
We don't have One More Thing. It's like close on your best. It's like, well, what? I guess we just put maybe our best announcement as the One More Thing.
Yeah.
But our best announcement isn't even that good. And it's certainly not One More Thing material.
No.
In any other year.
It's not an encore.
This is barely making the presentation.
Yeah. Wow.
So it will be interesting to see how much business is there. You've got more detailed stuff of what he said, right?
Yeah, let's manage the expectations of our listeners as well. If they didn't also see the 3-hour Twitch stream from GK,
We won't be giving you 3 hours worth of content here about GK, Jeff Keighley.
but we'll boil it down. So for some reason, this is the IGN article. They specified first off the bat, no new GTA 6 trailer.
Okay.
Sure.
Wasn't expecting that, but I guess that is something people could get, whipped up about.
Sure.
I feel like we got that one whenever that was, a little while ago, and
3 or
that's
4
going to
months.
be it for quite some time,
Surely.
I think. So,
Yeah.
I definitely remember him saying that he thinks Silksong is coming along well and he loves those guys, but he would be surprised if we saw it anytime soon. Something like that.
He's literally, his quote was, I think it's going to be a while.
Right.
So that's, I mean, it's already been a fucking while.
Saying I love those guys, that's real Trump energy. Great guys in there at Team Cherry.
Guys.
That wasn't part of the quote. That was editorializing. No Kingdom Hearts 4. I guess that's been something that's been on the horizon for a little bit.
He's managing my expectations in a positive way there.
Yeah.
For me personally, that is a big plus.
But even this of just going like, I'm managing expectations, here's everything that won't be in it. The issue with that is like anything that you leave out. But he didn't say anything about GTA 7. They could still announce that with a trailer.
Mario 10, whatever that is.
This was a Q&A, so he's responding to Qs.
Right,
someone asked
right.
about GTA 6. Someone asked about
this
that.
This is me responding to Qs. Oh, what a line.
Nice.
Oh,
Long
yeah.
line.
Nice.
How about that? This is me responding to Qs. We've got to lock her up! QAnon.
Oh, yeah.
This is me responding to Qs. Oh, I guess it'll take a while, but that's fine because I'm excited for what it's going to be.
The first two were wacky. The third one is normal play.
Is Q the tech cunt in James Bond?
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
You did one about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Imagine that Tommy did one about
Responding to Qs. Wow, that's a hell of a pen.
No, The Wolf Among Us 2. I guess that is the current thing that Telltale are working on, whatever Telltale is now at this point. No Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, which was announced not that long ago.
Maybe like a
was
year
it
ago,
last,
I feel like.
last E3 time?
Do you know if anyone
Yeah.
tried the tactic of just saying to him, "Hey Jeff, what will be in it?" Trip him up.
It's not in the article, so
Okay.
I can neither confirm nor deny. No Judas, which is the new Bioshock, basically, the new Ken Levine game.
Good thing not to have at a presentation or a dinner.
That's right. No Beyond Good and Evil 2, which has been... Oh, it was announced in 2017.
It
is in the ether now.
Been back and forth for so long, and who knows if that still exists in any sort of real form.
I think it's fair to assume that this is definitive. The IGN article says probably no Nintendo games. I think we can say definitely no Nintendo games.
Well, even there's Ubisoft Forward as well at some point, so I wouldn't have expected Beyond Good and Evil 2 either.
Exactly. No music acts, no Joseph Fares, who is the guy who developed It Takes Two and is like always at his thing.
Sure.
No music.
No music.
No dancing. Sit the fuck down.
Kevin Bacon's gonna fucking kick the door down. And no one more thing. So yeah, I mean that's it. That's what he's categorically denied.
Okay, and I mean,
there.
those are the big, sort of mostly unseen games that people are always. Anytime we're heading into any kind of thing like that, people are like, surely at this one.
They're the biggest, like, still on the card, or some of the biggest still on the cards things. And
he has confirmed a few things, actually. Power World will be there. Kingdom Come 2 will be there, which are already things that we know exist.
Well, that was the thing I remember also is he was like, a lot of the stuff you'll see is stuff you know about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Metaphor, ReFantazio, Monster Hunter Wilds, a bunch of stuff, Arkham VR, that, yes, exactly, we already know exists.
Yep.
There'll be there'll be some more stuff.
Well, I'm keen to see even more Monster Hunter Wilds because that sort of headlined the PSVR2. I mean, god damn it.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow.
That's like I accidentally said my ex's name.
Wishful thinking. There were 14 PSVR2 games announced.
It headlined the Sony State of Play that has already been on. We're recording this as well a couple of days before release.
Yes. Yep.
Worth pointing out if there's anything weird we're missing.
But yeah, I think this time of year, everything's like literally in the itinerary, right? So we should be okay. State of Play happened. We heard the scuttlebutt about the Astro Bot game.
Yeah, did that happen before we did the last ep? No, I don't think
Yes,
it did.
it did.
Oh,
It did, yeah,
Oh,
we talked about it. Yeah.
Right.
That and like which wasn't at the show, but the PSVR2 thing that we'll talk about in a minute. They were both sort of rumors out of it, and they showed this is at the end, but Monster Hunter Wilds and Astro Bot 2
It's
just
Astro Bot.
It's
the
straight
first
up
one.
Astro
and it
Bot.
would be 3 anyway. All my numbers are wrong today.
Should we start with them? 'Cause
they were the most
Yeah.
interesting.
They were the
ones
most,
to me.
and Astro Bot was the big thing where people are like, yeah, this is the one announcement of something that we didn't know was coming until the
previous
leak,
week.
obviously. Even like they'd said there'll be, they'd been teasing a Monster Hunter.
I'd heard bits and bobs about a Monster Hunter Wilds trailer is likely at that thing.
Yep.
And now I'm willing to confirm that I think it's very likely.
Yeah. 99% confirmed.
I thought Monster Hunter Wilds looked like a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too.
The monsters themselves, I think a few people agree with me on this. The characters featured in the cinematic were kind of annoying.
So you know what's weird as well? In the Japanese version of the trailer, they have more facial animation to match. I suppose the work on the Japanese version has been done, is further along.
Right, okay.
So they look a little more animated.
Sure, like the lip syncing and stuff is more...
And even just expressions and stuff was more detailed.
Okay.
Interesting.
So the English one, I think, weirdly came off slightly worse.
Right.
Because I agree, they were the most sort of like... And the Palico was talking, right? He was having a chat with you, Meow.
Was he having a chat?
That's what I thought.
I
yeah.
thought so too.
Okay.
Which, I don't want that guy to talk.
No.
He's meant to have little puns show up as text on the side of the screen.
Right.
That is
that's
funny.
the way I like it.
That is funny that they're at a point where they're like, what can we do to make this new one sort of different to all the other ones? The cat could talk. All right, that'll do.
Great.
Done.
Lock it in.
People love a little friendly pet to invest in.
If I can be a cat mom during all of Monster Hunter Wilds, sure. Go
I mean,
for it.
you already have been, but this one is more anthropomorphic.
It looks awesome. The lighting and the environments all looked great. I like the increased scale that it seems to have from world and the density of the monsters. The way it was showing off that the same environments clearly have, if not weather changes, at least that storm coming through affects the same place and makes different monsters roam around, and it looks very different.
I'm sure it'll make some stronger, some weaker, all that kind of stuff.
Whipping around on your horse bird dog thing.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Looked like fun. It looked like you were jumping on there quick, which I always love in games when you've got a mount and you can just like dart onto it. With
they're like,
no
this
friction.
doesn't have to be too realistic.
Yeah.
We don't need a full 4 seconds of this guy getting on here.
Was it Breath of the Wild had real fucking like, all right, you got to hoik your fucking leg over while the horse is stationary.
I feel like they were okay. Like Horizon Forbidden West, I feel I remember a little bit of... It's generally the way that people try to do it in games now, at least, with like The Witcher, you could just sort of run alongside Roach and jump
friction.
up on there.
No friction whatsoever.
We need a Digital Foundry video on this. A ranking of every game.
The frames.
And the time, the
key
number
frames.
of frames it takes to get onto the mount.
If they don't do it, we should be we should be creating the content we want to consume.
Yeah.
And I think of everything as content. It's a cool way to think about the world. Yeah, it just looked slick and smooth and the type of fluid that I want those games to be, for me to just be able to get slightly more into them than I think I have been in the past.
Especially I loved the last one, but it is a bit of a kind of good trick in a way of like, world looked really great. Then the next one they developed for Switch, so it was like
Rise? Was that Rise?
Rise, yeah. Fair downstep, visually, graphically, performance-wise, to get it running on that hardware. But the kind of the benefit of that now is like you come out of the gates with this next one, which is for all the next-gen consoles, and it's like it looks so much more impressive because it's been a minute since we've had like a properly like good looking Monster Hunter game.
Was Rise the first one that you had an actual mount that you traversed on? Because I
think so. I
you
think
didn't in World, right?
Might have been,
But,
and it had the little, what are they called? The little zip bug things.
The wire bugs.
Where you could so it, that was the big thing of it was like I remember that being a thing in reviews because I'd never really gotten too hooked in on one, and I did on Rise, and it being like, these make it like so much easier and quicker to like get up when you're like knocked over and being able to kind of like leap over the monster that you're fighting. Like you just have so much more fluidity and freedom of movement when you're fighting the monsters that makes it feel a little bit more like accessible to people who haven't played them before, because they are very like weighty and they're very like you get knocked over and it's taking you like 10 seconds to get back up, and it just feels really like punishing and unforgiving if you don't know what you're doing and you're trying to get the lay of it.
Speaking of keyframes, right? Like it's such a deliberate game when it comes to the combat. It's all about timing and
positioning.
And knowing
I feel
when
like
a monster's attack is going to like happen, and then the loop, the blowback and stuff.
That's what people who love them love about them.
Yeah.
So I have also seen a little bit of like, are they pushing this in a direction that will be a little simpler? Because like for me, it being like a little more like I like those games, and then I get like 12 hours in or something and find I drift away for some reason.
Right.
But I don't know why that is. And maybe like the open world seeming nature of this one more so than the previous ones is appealing, I think.
Yeah.
And they
again
also,
taking away the friction of like, okay, so I want to go on a mission, so I've got to fucking select the mission and fucking go here, and then I'm just stuck in one arena,
which
basically.
Again, people love, but
and I also did like that.
The people that love them are really like, this should never change.
Right.
I hate that they've had it in something to make it more accessible to newcomers.
So they listed some stuff on like their blog post about it or whatever that wasn't really covered in the trailer, that were like these sort of systems that I forget the specific details of, but there was like a sort of targeting thing that seemed to be describing itself as a way to simplify the controls somewhat, and your ability to target specific parts of monsters and stuff like that, which rang a similar tone to Street Fighter 6, which is Capcom as well, how they had that new control system of like more easily being able to pull off your moves and whatever.
That is interesting because targeting specific parts of a monster was key to all the previous games. You are collecting bits of the monster to turn into armor, and it was just based on touch and feel and, sussing it out yourself.
It could be a pretty significant change.
Yeah.
That I think was done really well in Street Fighter. But that is sort of a different thing where it doesn't really affect things in the same way as having this thing where, well, I can just more easily target the monster, so I'm like objectively more capable.
Yes.
Now
the game is easier in a way.
And it's a cooperative thing rather than just a 1v1 competitive thing. So like there's like, will you be a detriment to your group if you don't have that on and are doing it the old fashioned way? I don't know. That's all obviously to be seen, but I think it looks pretty and cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if it'll be a thing maybe when it like matches you up with people. It'll be like telling you, like
it could do.
Mario Kart, I'm using motion control style.
Literally, I was thinking of when you could see someone was using the wheel.
Call of
Mario
Duty
Kart
has
Wii.
like a little controller or a mouse.
Yeah. And you can just choose to
filter it
only by
And then Astro Bot.
I think
Astro
that
Bot.
looks fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I love the shit out of those games. I like all the goofy PlayStation shit they're throwing in it.
I was surprised. I'm kind of ambivalent. Like, I do see the benefit in maybe honing down on a unique character design or vehicle design or whatever. And Tommy, you're not a fan of
That
this.
was the one thing that kind of took me out of it a little bit when he's like flying around on a PlayStation controller. All that stuff really worked for me in the pack-in in the Playroom one because it's like a pack-in with the PS5.
And in the VR
like,
one because like the presence of your controller is
you
sort
have
of a part of VR.
Yeah, exactly. Like it kind of made sense in those two for me. And then this one, like all the design of like the enemies and the worlds and everything looks so cool that then when there's a bit where he's flying around on the back of the console and it's like, it's just a white box. Like I sort of get it.
A white box-shaped ship, Tommy.
Yeah. I don't know, it's not a deal breaker or anything by any stretch. Like it really sticks out for me when it pops up in this trailer of just like, we've just been seeing this like all this like really vibey, interesting design, like stacked one on top of the other, and then it's just this like, for me, it was just like a bit of a full, like a bit of a speed bump. Oh, we've
gone to the good guys.
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, I mean, also, it maybe just does speak to like, I also do think it's cool that, what I loved about Playroom was them kind of really, really leaning into this thing that like of their legacy that like Nintendo have always done really well. How they'll have
game
like
museum type stuff.
Yeah, where like even in this recent Paper Mario, like he's got this little phone that's ringing and he pulls it out and it's a Game Boy SP. Like, that sort of thing of like reaching back in, and like PlayStation's been around long enough now where they that stuff is like really I guess that's what it is. Like if it was a little more. If it was him flying around on a PS1 controller, even though aesthetically it's not like the biggest difference, but it's the fact that it's like the current console that is
they
like...
had all the others flying around at points though. I bet you'll get your...
your nostalgia hit. Yeah. But I do understand that it feels a little bit like an ad.
Yeah, it's also,
it is the kind
I don't know.
like, CGI thing that would be a trailer for the whole like launch of the PS5.
It's also
almost.
the weird thing too of being like, there it is, the beautiful PlayStation 5, and it's like, this is like the third exclusive that's come out on it. You know what I mean? Really celebrating this box. But I mean, that's just a total me aesthetic taste thing. Like, and it has in no way impacted my anticipation for the game.
I don't know why, but it's the exact type of like really like obviously dumb, goofy type of thing that really tickles and then
very
jacks
earnest.
off my pickle. But
it looks
cool.
so creative as well with its level design and its platforming.
That's been the shit about the Astro Bot games so far. That is the real thing about them. They're constantly little bits and pieces of creativity. Like when Mario's at its best, I don't think they've had the same sort of like mechanical aptitude or whatever as the Mario games have as well, but like the creativity and the constant like bright fun, throw everything at you, try to make it just dopamine all the time.
It looks great, and also just like it looks beautiful, and it like I love this genre of game, and it just makes you realize like we just don't really we're not really seeing this style of game on this fidelity of hardware with like this sort of top end graphics like at all anywhere else. Like it really sticks out as
that is the most appealing thing to me of like, Mario Odyssey was a really good game, and like you say, Nox, like it's more creative with its platforming than anything else because of the pedigree and the intelligence of all the people there. But like it was on a Switch, I was playing it at like 720p, I'm so excited to see a PS5 platformer. Like we talked in our chat about, Ratchet and Clank is maybe the only thing that's comparable, and it was fucking awesome.
And then Astro's Playroom as well, obviously. But then this being on a like seemingly a full game kind of scale or whatever is that's cool. Those two right there, I'm into both of them.
Yeah. And when's
Astro Bot is
September. So again, I love the like from a now. I mean, kind of known that they'd be working on something. It'll be interesting to see how it sells, just by virtue of the fact that anyone who owns a PS5 has essentially an ad for this game for free, like packed in, like whether that translates to people paying full price for the, the kind of like the next step up.
And then Monster Hunter's 2025.
Right. Cool.
Don't know yet. And then there are a bunch of other games in there.
Yeah.
There were a few that kind of looked interesting to me. There was one that was like another like Japanese action game. Had a bit of like not a Souls-like vibe necessarily to the combat, but like big scale monsters and shit. I have no idea what it was called.
No, I don't remember either.
Okay, well, let me just run you through.
I remembered there was Dynasty Warriors, and one of them that they're
Dynasty Warriors Origins. Oh. So it's actually the oldest one that there could be.
I still don't like that word in titles.
That feels like it is the Monster Hunter world of Dynasty Warriors, right? It's like, hey, this has been like a game that was very popular in Japan as itself. Crossed over with like Hyrule Warriors, Persona 5 Strikers, Persona Strikers, whatever.
Yeah.
And then another one, Fire Emblem?
There's a Fire Emblem one.
People didn't like Dynasty Warriors 9, which is the most recent of the main thing.
Right, which is like 5 or 6 years old, I think.
A while, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it looked kind of cool to me now that I've got a bit more of I never played any of the Dynasty Warriors games, but played some of that Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity. It was all right. Yeah. Was Persona 5 Strikers this same team?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah.
So
that's the only one that I've played of these, but I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
I think
they're cool
could be
formats.
A bit of fun.
Yeah.
Silent Hill 2 remake.
Oh yeah. I mean,
that looked like fucking dog shit to me.
Really?
Am I crazy? It looked awful. I don't know why. I think the characters, like you were saying about the characters looked fucking completely wrong.
Really?
Don't know what it is.
It didn't really strike me either way.
Sure.
Like, I haven't played a Silent Hill game. It looked like a remastered, upscaled, redone version.
Upskirted?
It looked like it was more as I rapidly move away from it had like the behind the back Resident Evil current style over the shoulder type of shooting.
I honestly didn't get much of an impression from that trailer at all. I feel like, I don't know, we'll see.
Well, did you get much of an impression from the trailer for Marvel Rivals?
No.
I did.
Bob Loblaw.
I think I literally looked away.
You were wincing.
Yeah.
People are playing. It's an Overwatch type game,
Yeah.
character, hero, whatever, shooter.
Yep.
People are playing some alpha version of it now that I've seen. The only clip of which I've seen is Doctor Strange is a character in it. You can open a portal two portals that people will run into and then run out the other. And there was a level where you can just open a portal in front of where the enemy base is, and then a second portal out onto a cliff. And they just have no choice but to run off of the cliff.
Nice.
So they've got some work to do on that, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you'll be a bit more interested in a game where, from what I understand, you can choose to play as either Brett or Jermaine. A little game called Concord.
Ooh, now we're talking. Not to honk the negativity button 3 times in a row. But
This was the first thing in the thing, right? You guys understand what I said there?
Yeah.
I think this was
their big lead thing. It was a long sort of cinematic cutscene type thing, and then
Brett or Jermaine.
Yeah, I remember. I remember when you said that.
Okay.
Or Arj Barker.
Yeah, there we go. That's all I wanted.
Tell me it's business time.
Yes.
A couple of people chatted after that. This is a bunch of ex-Destiny devs who have then made another real Destiny motion seeming. The shooting and just the way the aiming was taking place really did remind me of Destiny, and then found out why. But another sort of, I think, Overwatch style.
I think so, like 5v5 character shooter.
I guess so. I don't remember if it was 5v5 or if it was co-op, to be honest. But it's of that ilk.
They all looked fucking AI generated. Like
Guardians
advanced
of the Destiny is.
Yeah.
This is a 5v5.
yeah.
There's another co-op
Okay,
coming down the pipe.
Okay.
Sure.
If you can believe that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That being the lead with the type of 2014 style, again, Guardians of the Galaxy, quip stuff that we've gotten sick of. That is the just one more thing to our writing tastes.
Yes.
I think of like, damn, man, leave it behind. Didn't appeal to me very much.
I feel like this is one that you'd have to wait to see how it plays, because like, yeah, there's like story and stuff in Helldivers, but people love it because it's fun to play and the mechanics work and the systems work, and it's not egregiously, gated by monetization. Maybe this will be really fun to play.
It could be. I mean, the
Who
shooting
knows?
in Destiny is some of the best that's been in shooters.
Yeah.
In my opinion, but there's just a real feeling for me that I think people are over this type of game, and there's a lot of them coming out now, and this sort of give us all of your time thing is a very difficult space to be in, and I just...
Didn't people not enjoy Overwatch 2 as a concept as well? Because it kind of like was the same game, but then it reset and you had to like... Yeah, it was essentially just Overwatch 1.5. And
I think people are really... it's hard to get an impression because these types of games, the games as a service, I guess, is what you'd call them, but this specific niche of them too, people keep playing thousands of hours of them.
Yes.
And the whole time saying, this fucking sucks. So I can't tell what people want from this. But the way these new... I don't remember if we talk about it. I don't remember if we talked about it. Let me say it in the correct tense.
I thought you were
You've edited yourself in after we've done the
Yeah.
and you're at home. Now, I can't remember if we talk about this coming up. We have done it, but I'm listening to it back now, and I don't know.
It was a reappearance of Nostradamus.
I can remember that we talk about in the future.
Yes.
The replacement of Jim Ryan at PlayStation, and there's sort of two co-CEOs now. But one of the moves made was apparently that a lot of Sony's games as a service type games that were hugely being pushed and in development under the previous regime have been pretty flatly canned, is the impression I get.
Right.
This is one that was probably the furthest along, that they were like, spreadsheet wise, it makes more sense to put it out.
Give it a crack, see if people jump on board.
I don't know. I got a bad feeling about this one, guys.
I do as well, but I also want to be cognizant of the fact that it may just be because I don't like these kinds of games personally.
I was watching this stream on YouTube, and a lot of L's in the chat.
Ooh.
And if I know kids, that stands for let's fucking go.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah. Big interview with McPherson herself. A lot of L's in the chat.
Well, I know sometimes an L can stand for looter shooter, and there's one of them coming out called The First Descendant.
Huh?
I don't remember this. I watched the whole thing.
It's a third-person co-op looter shooter. The First Descendant.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, that's that.
Shit. I must have gone for a slash or something.
Dynasty Warriors Origins.
Yes.
God of War Ragnarok for the PC.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Yep. Sony's whole thing. I think they said very straightforwardly as well that their strategy going forward. I don't know if this is something that they said or just something that someone reported, but
right.
The strategy is for any game that has sort of multiplayer as its front-facing thing, they'll try and do PC and PS5 releases, have them coincide.
Oh, right.
And then single-player stuff like God of War, going forward, it still will be give it some time on PS5 first and then PC later, like Ghost of Tsushima recently and then God of War Ragnarok.
Is the first one since they had that big kerfuffle where they're like, yeah, you have to have a PSN account, and that's just part
Ghost of Tsushima was
recently,
and I think some people were still like about it, but it didn't really obviously make a big splash.
I guess we already know about it. Yeah.
I don't know what the story is with this, but I assume it'll be PSN account. That's what Helldivers 2 was meant to be as well.
Right.
Does it have the DLC stuff that came out later with it, or are they putting like an artificial delay on that too? I assume it'll be in there.
I think it's everything. Yeah.
Don't know.
Assurance that the game's DLC would be free.
Because that was free on the PS5.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
There were also a couple of announcements for the PSVR2.
Oh, yeah.
Adam, you've got one of them. You like little games, don't you?
How dare you out me like this?
Alien
Don't
Rogue.
tell people about my finances.
Play that every day, right?
The worst financial decision I have made since
Alien
I gave all my money
Rogue.
to the guy who emailed me.
What?
He was a prince.
Oh, well, turns out he didn't even say he was a prince. He just said, give me money, and I was trying to be nice.
Fuck.
Yeah, I'm a people pleaser. Alien Rogue Incursion.
Yeah. This had like a really short trailer, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the article here says it showed seconds of gameplay.
Yeah, it did.
That's true of everything, really, but sure.
It looked Alien Isolation-y, so hopefully that could be cool. I don't think it looked as good as that just from the seconds that I saw, so don't judge a
Do you
book
think
by
it looks
seconds of
better or worse than Skydancer's Behemoth?
That kind of looked a little bit cool in the way that it still looks very much like the same type of VR game there's been 100,000 of. I mean, not 100,000 for, but that's 100,000 in VR terms.
Did you play that? There was like a fantasy combat first person.
Asgard's Wrath is probably what you're thinking of. I still haven't done that for some reason.
That one did get a pretty good
VR headsets everywhere, but not a drop to play.
That one got a good response, I think.
It absolutely did.
Yeah.
And I probably should have gotten around to it by now, but I haven't. And this looks that sort of thing where each hand is a different sword or spell, and there's massive things that'll step on you, which daddy likey. But
okay, all right.
Other than that, it looked like VR game.
Bad name.
Yeah.
Skydancer's Behemoth.
That's pretty much it.
But nice to have.
What about the game that I mentioned that I didn't know the name of?
There was some action game that I don't know where it was set or what the idea was.
Ballad of Antara?
That's gotta be it.
Where Winds Meet?
Ooh,
could have been that.
Could have been that. Could have been that one. I think it may have been that one. I'm just looking at some images. Oh,
I
think it was
Nikki.
That's the thing is that
How did you not bring up Infinity Nikki?
This is all just down the bottom of the article, and and also these ones. It's like, right, they're really just rushing through this.
There were a few like that sort of looked like, hey, they could be okay, but didn't make a ton of impression on me either watching at the time, where they looked like action games. So that Infinity Nikki was like...
It's a dress-up platform puzzle platformer.
Yeah.
Right.
That's like a big niche. Like people who like those games love those games.
Going on the cozy game pile.
Yeah.
But yes, I think maybe it was Ballad of Antara that was a bit like, a bit more of a creative. Like we talked recently about how many like samurai era games have come out. Just another more creative, innovative version of a third-person action game.
Cool.
Give that a poke.
As a presentation, a lot of those things didn't make a huge impression on me, at least.
Yeah.
And hey, when they come out and it turns out maybe they're great, who knows? But then I'm willing to eat my words.
Yeah, I mean...
Words are easy to eat.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very low calorie count.
In terms of managing expectations, just coming out of there with like Astro Bot looks great,
Yeah.
and it's cool to see Monster Hunter properly revealed.
And they did say, start of this year, like, we're not announcing any, like, sequels to famous franchises. Like, none of our big IPs are getting anything announced this year.
But you said that this
Astro
didn't...
Bot.
Yeah.
You said that this didn't leave much of an impression, but I'll tell you what left a hell of an impression on me. The announcement today that had been leaked a little while ago that you will be able to purchase an adapter for your PSVR2 headset, allowing you to plug into a little thing that I like to call the personal computer.
Yeah.
Name for it.
Yeah. Just a measly $99.95.
Yep.
I think only $94.95 Australian.
Okay. All right.
60 US or pounds.
Now I'm listening. I don't have a PSVR 2, but I might get one of these.
Well, so
it
the-
seems like a steal.
Wait, just the box?
just the
Not
just-
the headset? You're just going to buy the box?
Yeah.
That's a fucking goated move.
Yeah, dude, I bought some new tires. Oh, did you get a car? Not yet.
Nah. No, but the tires were so much cheaper than the car.
I technically now have 4 spares. Whereas if I buy the car, then I've got 0 spares.
I'm doing the reverse Fred Flintstone.
You got
All
there in
tires,
the
no
end.
cars. Yeah.
I'm a scout. Be prepared. That's the motto. I'm ready for it.
Tongue-tied today. But the breakout box thing for the PSVR 2 to be compatible with
into
the
the
PC. It cool. A.
Yeah.
B. There's caveats.
Okay.
The way that you connect it is with the USB thing attached to the box. You have to supply your own DisplayPort 1.4 cable to go from the video card to the thing. Mm-hmm. I think if you're sort of laptop world, if you've been laptop pilled, then you can get, I mean, it'll be unclear if this works until it's out and people have tried it. But a lot of the time you can get a USB-C to DisplayPort 1.4 cable. So hopefully that sort of stuff functions too. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the features of the PSVR 2 that make it so cool will not work on a PC, such as the HDR, the eye tracking, the motion
haptic
feedback
in
the helmet and the controllers. You'll still have like rumble in the controllers, the adaptive triggers, stuff like that. So it won't be as good of a headset as it is on a PlayStation, which is part of the appeal of that thing. Like,
it's just like if you don't have an Oculus or a, like, what's the higher end one called? What's the other
there's
one?
a Valve Index you might be thinking of. There's
or
a
the
couple
HTC ones.
If you just don't have any of them
Pro.
yet and you've got this, it's like, you can just use it as a,
it's just a screen. It's just a headset.
And I do wonder if, because, so it doesn't make the PSVR 2 a good idea if you're just getting a PC VR headset.
Right.
Because it has to be wired to, which you can get around and do like that, the broadcasting stuff for wireless Quest games.
Yep.
Or games played on the Quest from a PC works really well.
Yeah.
If you've got one, it's cool. I wonder if those features will be able to be enabled through mods and things that people make on the PC.
Oh yeah.
Or if they're artificially disabling them in some way to encourage you to buy multi-platform games on your PS5 so Sony gets a taste.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Don't know, because the functionality's obviously there in the headset. You'd imagine that if you're sending data to it through cables, you can turn it on.
Yeah, if you code that stuff, right?
Which people were on their way to being able to get it to work on the PC before this anyway.
That was
So-
my other question was
Also-
like, is it actually worth it, or is it better to just wait until someone gets it going through a USB-C cable?
I don't know, because I'd imagine that this existing takes a little wind out of the sails of the people working on the compatibility layer for it anyway.
Right.
And if they can turn that stuff on, it's cool. But yeah, this does mean that, well, they're not going to sell, and you shouldn't buy PSVR 2s as a PC headset.
No.
This
Quest
is the thing,
3 or
like,
whatever is
we didn't
better.
say this yet about the Astro Bot game being announced, but I think that was the sort of assumption was like, well, surely that's going to be a VR2 thing. The only like fully fledged game that he's been in that wasn't the pack-in was a VR game, and he worked so well in that space. So surely imagine what they could do with that, with like better tech and everything, and like that was such a hit and people loved it. And
It
so
made it
that
worth getting a PSVR.
It was a killer app, like
Yeah.
an old-fashioned killer app.
Yeah.
And so that just being I would love to know if it was ever in development for the VR2 and they just went, these aren't selling, shuffle it off.
I would bet $1 million that's exactly
You'd
what happened.
bet $1 million.
I'd take that bet.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I think they...
Alright.
Yeah.
I 100% think that was the case. And
Sony
then
hasn't had any other thing is why I would... Other than their modes for...
They did, what was it? They, reduced the amount that they were going to ship of the... they projected the PSVR2 to be more successful than it was. They reined it all in. I definitely think that it was going to be the same thing. And
this was in development for the VR?
We can't sell... Yes.
This is a waste.
We can't sell this for, an install base of 11,000 globally.
It would be so intrinsic to the design of that game that I wonder, but who will never know.
That's the thing. I mean, the VR2 still hasn't been out. It's been... still kind of recent enough that you would think they would have had to do some serious reshuffling around. Not maybe not impossible, but
yeah, maybe it could have been on both. It would have had some enhanced stuff on the PSVR2.
And they've made it clear that it won't.
Yeah,
but between
that I could definitely take the $20,000 bet on chump change.
If it just had one world in it that was VR2 only, or some
It's such a fucking shame because I said this on. I said this on our Discord and I'm now repeating it on a podcast. The coolest man in the world.
Yeah. Rizzed up to the nines.
That's a very big clash of two extremely
Hell
different
yeah.
words.
To the nines.
It's like a mixed metaphor, but
what
cooler.
the fuck does that... That's homework
She
for
got
you.
gams and yeah.
I feel like every other week you're coming in here and you're like, the saying, wouldn't kick him out of bed for fighting or whatever, and you'll be like, you found out the etymology of some super.
Oh,
That's your
yeah,
homework.
yeah.
Find out for us.
What the nines?
What's the nine?
Dress to the nines.
Maybe it's like a percentage, but you're breaking it down by a factor of 10, and 9 is up to the top of the legs.
We're gonna find out.
He's a 10, but he's only dressed to the nines.
Maybe the 9s was like a club you'd go to, or maybe on the 9th of the month. Who knows? But my point being that I said it feels like the breakup text or whatever that Sony sends being like, hey, this is clearly not working because Astro Bot was the flagship guy for PSVR and it just really doesn't seem to me.
The 1-2 punch of that not being on VR2 and then the you can just use it for your PC. That is really we are out. We've given up. I know that they're putting that out to try and make it more attractive, but it's you are not going to sell. You might make a bit of money selling the little box, the $95 thing to people that already have the headset.
And I'm surprised.
But I don't think you're not getting anyone new go in because of that being available.
They really shouldn't because also unless you've got a PS5 and a PC and you want one that does both and you really want to play Horizon, whatever it's called, Call of the Mountain.
Yeah.
But the Gran Turismo 7 thing was cool.
Yep.
Resident Evil 8 had a thing. Resident Evil 4 has a thing that I still haven't played. What am I doing with none of these? But
that comes up every time we talk about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is this the week where he finally says
you've got to
go?
It'll happen. Sell it. I'm sorry, you have to sell it.
There's something weird going on in my head where I'm stuck with this thing and I have to keep
weird
it.
going on top of your head. It's called a PSVR2.
Yeah, that's true.
Dress to the nines. Originally 9 was the best number.
What do you mean was the best number?
What do you
Before
mean
they invented
originally?
10?
Yeah.
When they were on the single-digit system?
No, it literally said, the origin is uncertain, but it used to be 9 was a really good number. So it was
Imagine
you're
the
dressed
first
to the
person then
nines.
who was fucking figure skating and they wrote down a whole new number because they did such a good job that you got a 10.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, they gave them a 1 and a 0? Those are the two worst numbers.
Well,
Wait
exactly.
a minute.
They used to just be single digits.
I can't believe that.
I wonder if it's some culture where 9 is particularly lucky.
I think it is literally
sure.
that. It's just 9 used to be more of a special number.
Right.
Poor 9.
Yeah.
9-volt battery.
Best battery.
You're dressed up. You're giving off a fucking. There's an electricity about you.
True. If you lick me, I'd spark.
Yeah.
I'm a little
You might
surprised,
die.
I have to say, because when the rumors of this thing were around, I kind of thought that there'd be some chance of them sending this to early adopters as something of a make good.
So that's what I was thinking
Right.
about today. It being $95. Remember with the 3DS and the Wii U, Nintendo did like an ambassador program thing.
Oh,
where
yeah.
Like they gave you a bunch of free games if you had bought in before a certain date. It was like, hey, look, we really fucked the first year of this. We're sorry.
Yep.
Have a game or two for free. And it's like, it's such a small thing on their end, but it does. I get that this is a little bit harder because they've got to like send out a fucking... But at least like subsidize it or discount it or something.
They've done it with VR before, where when the PS5 came out, they sent out to people that little adapter because it was no longer able to be plugged into a PS5 or whatever.
Yep.
And so there's precedent for them to realize that they've made hardware decisions that haven't gone well for people or whatever. Like, it's
when
a little
you've bought
weird
something that was that expensive and then it's another $100 to just plug it into a different screen
and be like,
to just like run it off a different thing. Like,
I can use my Steam library.
That you then just still need to like buy the other games on any. You know what I mean? It's not like you can just tap it into a thing and then it's like all this existing stuff is just there for free. It's money on money on money.
It's for people who were like big VR heads and are early adopters and have games on their PC and they're like, yeah, look, sorry for not releasing more than 3 games on the PSVR2. You go and play Half-Life.
It is so funny that their like image that they've like put out with the story of this. It's like a screen with Half-Life, like really like blatantly just being like, well, it's a better game than we could fucking come up with for our thing. So just go play that. Go play that and shut up.
Yeah. Worth saying as well that they did like specifically say your Steam library. You can play games on your Steam library in this post.
Right.
I imagine that's mostly to do with that it won't be compatible with games you've bought on like the Quest app.
Oh yeah,
like on the PC. That's my guess. That's purely a guess.
And because Steam VR is like an existing app and it is pretty compatible with a lot of headsets and shit.
It could even be there's just some cross branding sort of thing because they've got that Half-Life Alyx screenshot on there. So it'll be interesting to see if it's compatible beyond the Steam.
But it's a drag. Like it's
It's like the Vita. It reminds me of that. You know, like that came out. They were like, here you go. And pretty quickly they were like, oh, whoops, never mind.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad I don't have to do this financially, but I was pumped for the possibility that it would be Astro Bot. What was it called again?
Rescue Mission.
Astro Bot Rescue Mission 2.
Yeah.
And being like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to buy one of these goddamn things for this because that first one was so fucking good. And just having the experience of like having like not done VR for a bit and then being immersed in that, it was like such a good game. I was pumped for that. I do think it's like a great format for that little guy. Like they worked out how to do it and like not that many people have picked up the ball and run with it and done the 3D platformer in that space in the same way. Like they figured out how to do it and do it really well.
And look, I should get off my ass and play the other games that are out on that thing before I start whinging about how few games there are on it. But also, let me do what I want.
Yeah.
Let me do what I want at all times.
Also,
please.
That would take 1 week to accomplish.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe I'll do it soon.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll be too busy in November watching the Like a Dragon Yakuza TV series that will be going on Amazon Prime Video.
Yeah.
6 episodes in 2 little blocks of 3. It'll be set in 95 and 2005, so seemingly like maybe a mix of some of the Yakuza 0 type stuff.
Sure.
With
I guess,
the first game or something, I don't know.
What's his name? Kiryu?
Kiryu, they've cast him.
Yeah, he is
He's
like the main character, I guess. Yeah.
Some other casting stuff was out. I didn't look too closely at it, but cool. I hope that they do the Yakuza style in that show and don't just take it and go like, and now here's like a mob story and whatever.
I mean, like, so there was a movie, we talked about this off air. There was a movie in 2007 called Like a Dragon. 6 out of 10 IMDb, 50% Rotten Tomatoes. It is about former Yakuza gang member Kiryu Kazuma. Yeah. I guess they don't say his full name.
I think that's his name, right? That's his surname.
Yeah.
Kiryu Kazuma. Yeah. It was directed by Takashi Miike, who is a famous Japanese auteur. Not necessarily a hit, but like you say, I think that if they lean into the melodrama of the Yakuza thing
and the
as a
humor
series,
and
right?
the silliness,
as an ongoing,
have
like,
the karaoke scene, have like a half an episode be just a whole fight of him fighting his way up a building, all that sort of thing, similar to what they did. I mean, obviously different studios entirely, but I think with Fallout, where that matched the tone of the games with the humor and all the weirdness and everything.
Yeah.
And it worked for people. And this is a more direct adaptation of the story, it seems like.
Yeah, because I think like the lead creative for the Like a Dragon series had a heavy involvement with the TV adaptation, like had script involvement. So, I feel like there's been an attempt at least to make it fit in with the vibe and the sort of.
I'm positive. I think it could be good. I mean, those games are so like you're frequently just sitting there and like watching a movie for like an hour at a time anyway.
Yeah.
That. It's not too much of a stretch to be like, oh, how are we gonna like, pad over this like gameplay element? Like they are so cinematic.
Yes.
Have a bit in the middle of one of the episodes where he like helps some random guy sort out where the videos are in his video shop.
Yeah.
To make it more appealing to customers, or have to stand outside in a big video thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
A VHS costume.
Yes. Or count statues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
think it could be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope so. I'm skeptical, but I hope so.
I love that Prime have just gone, this is our thing now.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously this would have been in development before they knew that Fallout was a hit. But
at some stage in time, they
did.
This is
They're
our
like,
thing.
you know what? Let's bet big.
Yeah.
We got nothing else.
Well, most of their stuff has been, because like The Boys is an adaptation, The Lord of the Rings, The Wheel of Time, Fallout, this. Like
they're doing God of War, right? That's a Prime thing.
Are they doing Horizon as well?
Ooh,
I don't remember.
Don't know.
Because Halo's Paramount.
Yes.
But
yeah. And
we'll see. Well, I'm sure we'll all watch it when it comes out. That's my
I'm
plan,
excited
to make us all watch it.
Okay.
Well, I've been watching the screen a little bit.
Oh,
and on that screen, I've been seeing little people run around in ways that correspond with what I'm doing with my thumb on a bit of plastic that I'm holding that's connected, sometimes wirelessly, sometimes tethered to the device that's attached to the screen.
Wow. Tethered how?
Like it's a clown? Like it's here to amuse you?
Hey, I don't do that no more. Maybe they didn't go up there and tell you, but I don't do that no more.
Now go get your fucking controller.
I've been playing some goddamn video games.
You've been playing some games.
Dude, that's what I love to do. I've been doing the same.
Yeah, I've been playing a bit of game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been playing a game called Paper Trail.
This is not a recent game, right? This is like a couple of years old?
No.
Bitch.
It came out like 2 weeks ago. And
Really?
I really thought you were fucking getting up my ass by going, now this isn't recent. Like, oh, sorry, I didn't talk about this the fucking day after it came out.
You sure it's recent?
Yeah. I'm like
initial
release.
release.
The more you're holding
2022?
me, the more you're holding me to this, the less confident I am.
Is this maybe an early access thing that's just hit 1.0? Is that how you could both be?
I can't see. Let me look. I mean,
the Peacemakers come in. I think that's maybe what's happened.
I think you could be right.
Paper Trail, you say?
Paper Trail.
If only we could find the paper trail that led to its release.
Yeah, the 21st of December 2022. What?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, what the fuck's going on here? Well, now I need to get to the bottom of this.
Well, it's that December 21st, 2022 used to be the highest number.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's why they say that. What is Paper Trail?
Paper Trail is a puzzle game that is an isometric top-down puzzle game where you will be... it's hard to describe.
Well, you've had 2 years to prepare, so...
You're controlling your character, you're walking along, and you'll get to, like, let's say a little... you're walking across a bridge, and there's a gap you can't get across.
Yeah.
So what you can also do with the right stick is move a little cursor, and you can grab the edge of... All this is happening, like, on a page. Mm-hmm. You can grab the edge of the page and kind of curl it up.
Oh, like bend
and
it
then,
in.
Yeah, on the other side, you can also like hold down a button to just see like what's on the other side of the page.
Right.
So all of the rooms basically revolve around, you can pull the corners, you can pull like just one side across, the top, the bottom, like a combination of any. They can't overlap, and you also can't pull something if your like if the character is on it.
Right.
So
this sounds really cool.
It's like maybe it's just the way my brain works, which is not very well at all. but just even getting through that menu, it says press start. Like, what?
I see 3 lines. I see 2 squares.
Start. I'm like, I've started already. Like, start how? Like, I'm a clown? Like,
pressing on the screen. Yeah, there's a review of this from August 2023. So I think it must have gone through maybe early access and then released on different platforms in a sort of staggered.
Yeah, right. Because I just read about it. I read a thing about it, like it's kind of as if it had just come out like a couple of weeks. So yeah, I don't know.
That happens. Sometimes you just miss something that seems recent. You guys hear Harambe died?
What?
As though anyone knew about Harambe before.
No. I knew my favorite gorilla.
Yeah.
I haven't heard any updates.
I've got a book. I'm booked to go to the Cincinnati Zoo soon to see my pal Harambe.
But yeah, it is really like again, with how my brain visualizes puzzles like this, the thing of being able to like flip over and see the other side, I am just finding of absolutely no help, because it means, being able to like be very spatially aware of like, oh, but then this could go up to like where I need a so I'm more just sort of like brute forcing trial and error, and you'll get like bits where it like at the edge of the bridge there'll be like a little symbol, and you, even if you've like patched it over, you can't walk across it unless you've like matched up the same symbol.
Oh yeah.
So then it's not just about like, oh well, now I've got a link. It's like, no, I've got to like look for the actual like right thing, and it's brought in the bit that I'm up to. There's little platforms that you can move along that can sort of move over the page if it's folded over. There's like, switches that you're having to get a rock from like one end to the other to put on a switch to open a door. And then there'll be like little puzzles where there's like a pattern on a door, and so you're needing to like fold the page over to like replicate that pattern in little things that are like sort of dotted around the environment.
Cool.
I'm like pretty early on into it, and it's already done like a lot of stuff that's like, oh, this is cool. Like, and there's a very loose story of like, you're a girl that's run away from home and you're sort of like meeting people along the way and getting like little bits of story, like just enough for it to be. It's very like twee indie game sort of presentation, but the style of it's great. It's got this like really satisfying, like the way the paper feels when you pick up and pull the corner of it, and it's like kind of crinkling sound effect of like, it's really neat. It's such a cool idea for a game, for a puzzler, and it's just like, that's all it is. It's just like every screen is another thing that you've got to
is it
trial and error, try and
color drawings on them, or are they?
Yeah, it's color drawing.
Yeah, I had a look. It's like very sort of mellow colors, little like pastel greens and purples and blues and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's very like it's not like, oh, I'm drawing man, I'm trapped on the page. It's like it's like a kind of storybook looking thing, but it's not.
Yeah.
The conceit of it doesn't really. Like, it doesn't tie in any way of like, oh, I've been cursed and now I'm in paper. It's like, it just is like, oh, I'm going on this adventure, and like, this is just the way it's presented and how you're trying to solve the puzzles.
This is a style choice that we've made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a cool sounding little mechanic.
Yeah.
I like the sound
Check
of
it out if you listen to this back in 2022 and it's just come out and might be relevant.
What is this on?
Fuck, if only Nostradamus had piped in then. It's on, I think maybe it's a console release thing that's happened recently.
Maybe.
But it is also on Steam. It's on a bunch of stuff.
It's on, I think, pretty much everything.
Yes.
At this
Nice.
point.
Yeah.
Paper Trail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like 20-something bucks, little indie puzzler. Yeah. Really good.
And it's old as shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember Paper Trail? This is it now. Feel old? Only 2022's kids will get this one.
I played a game that released, I'm fairly certain, but now I don't have the confidence to say it out too loud, but recently.
I might jump down your goddamn throat. I got receipts.
It's on Game Pass and a few other things, I believe. It's called Little Kitty, Big City.
No, this came out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I
thank God.
Yeah.
I thought that too, but I wasn't confident enough to jump in after my last blunder.
Yeah.
Little Kitty Big City is a chill little platforming game that's more about walking around this town. You're a cat.
A town, you say?
A town.
Okay.
It's not that big of a city as far as I'm concerned.
Interesting. Well, you've been to some big-ass cities.
And I'm not a tiny cat, so, to me, I'm like, I could walk through that door easily.
Right.
And take up the whole frame. And the cat's like, not me. I guess
it's about putting you in the position of the cat.
It really does put you into the mind of a cat. You got the meow button Stray style.
Oh, really?
It's a more cartoony look than that, though. It's kind of pretty. You're walking around solving real straightforward, sort of simple puzzles of like straightforward meowsles that are
pausals.
That's
right there.
I can't find this thing, but you can because you're a cat and you can jump. And so if you hold a little trajectory arc thing will show up with some paws at the end that you can move with your stick and launch up onto corners of things, of boxes and whatever. You can climb around quite easily because you're a nimble little cat. And you're gathering up little shiny things that are around for a crow who might want them.
Oh, yeah.
You're gathering up bird feathers for this weird tanuki who might want them. It's a Japanese city.
Okay.
You're running between the legs of people walking by to knock the phone out of their hand because someone else wants a phone. Bits and bobs like that. Knocking soccer balls into goals. You can do the left or right trigger to swipe your paws to knock pot plants off of the top of things. It's kind of like Stray Untitled Goose Game.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Okay.
Yep.
But Untitled Cat Game.
Yeah, titled cat game. And the title is Little Kitty Big City.
Yeah, okay.
That's the full name. I've just been truncating it so far.
That should be the title of a review out there.
It probably
somewhere
is.
on the internet.
It could be our one.
Titled cat game. Titled gat game.
Cat game.
Yeah.
We haven't said this. We're recording this at night, which we almost never do.
Yeah.
Which might be why we've all become very tongue-tied at multiple points.
Let me say it in the style of Little Kitty Big City's writing. I'm pretty sweepy. It's got a lot of that sort of pretty kooky, pretty quirky type of dialogue between the animals that you're speaking to that isn't necessarily for me. And I don't think I'm going to play much more
But you
of it.
had to have been expecting this from a game called Little Kitty Big City.
I'm not saying it's a surprise. Well, I could have just even said I'm not saying it's a prize.
Deserted all of us this evening.
Genuine,
I've been at work for 8 fucking hours.
Well, we're recording it at like 8 p.m. as well. We should say it's not fucking 1 a.m.
Yeah,
no, that's true.
Like 8 p.m.
It's
and
dinner time.
A pint each on the way here.
But I don't normally walk into it. If I'm buying dinner, I don't go, can I have a curry?
Well, that must be nice.
So it's a bit...
it sounds like it's a bit light on.
Yeah,
potentially.
This kind of looked all right to me, and I've seen a lot of people be pretty into it. But I mean, I think I was the one amongst us who loved Stray, and so I'm kind of like, this just looks like a really like downgraded version of that. Like I really loved the vibe and the tone of that, and I'm like, I don't. If that hadn't gelled with me as much, I might be like, oh, maybe I'll like kind of this version of this. But like this looks like just kind of a bit of a like weaker take on that thing that I really loved. To me, where I'm like,
I think it is very like whether or not you find it weaker will depend on how much you gel with the mood of this. game.
Sure,
right. And it wasn't necessarily what I was after.
It sounds like the sort of like because Stray, a lot of the platforming. This was the thing that sort of turned me off it a bit. Was like. You just like point in a direction and hit A, and then you jump. Like it wasn't like a fluid, fully controlled platforming in Stray. Whereas this, it sounds like at least there's a bit more.
There
is
a bit more, and there's like the main thing that it's trying to get you to do is just have a bit of fun exploring and messing with different people and finding little different pockets of the environment to wander around in, which is okay. I think if the tone of it strikes you a little more strongly, then you'll enjoy yourself.
Right.
It's chill. It's pleasant, and I think it's just going to purely depend on whether or not the vibe of it is for you.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough going on gameplay-wise to puncture through that.
Sure.
But there's enough going on gameplay-wise that if you're also digging that, I think you'll really have a good time.
Yeah, and I think that people have been liking this. Yeah. And I also think that it's such a specific title, aesthetic, that you're going to either be drawn to it or not, right? Like if if you think you'll like it, you'll probably like it.
And
exactly.
Let me chuck another. Oh, and one more thing, hack video game sentence at you. It's nice to have it on Game Pass.
Hey.
'Cause you can give it a whip and leave it be if you don't like it.
Mm-hmm. Well, can I quickly, before you guys talk about the next thing, something that I think is very similar to what you were saying about that. I've been playing a game called Tiny Terry's Turbo Trip.
Say that again for me, please. Sorry. And say it 4 times and as quick as you can.
Okay.
You're not doing well so far.
Tiny Terry's Turbo Trip, Tiny Terry's Turbo Trip, Tiny Terry's Turbo Trip, Tiny Terry's Turbo Trip.
Whoa.
The tongue tie is cured.
Yeah.
You are not going to get done for DUI.
Recite the name of Tiny Terry's Turbo Trip backwards. Lock him up. This is a game that is a basically sandbox, open world sandboxy kind of game. You're this freaky looking little guy. You're at the.
But what about the game?
Hey, you're
Tiny Terry.
You're Tiny Terry.
All right.
You're at the job office and you go in to apply for a job, and you go, I want to be a taxi driver because I get a car, and they're like, oh, then you have to drive people around, and you're like,
yeah, I know.
And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I just want the car. And they're like, yeah, but you have to do the job, and he's like, no, I'm not going to. I want to drive to space. And they're like, all right, well, we'll give you the car, but you really should do the job. And you're like, yeah, I don't care. So it's got this very weird sort of sense of humor to it.
It's going to be embarrassing when that person who works at the job office has to come into the job office after being fired for this plunder.
So then, you get a car, you're driving around this town, you're given, no objective, just here's the car, here's a map with a lot of little question marks on it. You drive around, one of them's a hat store, one of them's a store to buy like little tools like a butterfly net, a shovel. One's like a mechanic where you can spend these like little bits of scrap that you've been collecting to like upgrade the car. So you're just basically going around doing little tasks for people, little things around this world. There's no combat. There's no like platforming sections. It just basically is like you have this car and you're like slowly powering up this car and like, giving lifts to people and doing these little errands and just going around the map and just like going, all right, well, I guess I'll just fill out all the little question marks that are on here and figure out what different stores are in the world and what different little people are loitering around. But it's got this cool, like, it's kind of hard to describe. It's very like simplistic, cartoony design style where it's like they're 3D models, but they have that kind of like squiggle vision thing to them where they're all like the sort of outsides of them are kind of like constantly like warbling and rotating.
Okay.
And he like when you rotate the camera around him, rather than him just being like a straight up like polygon that you're going around, he's got kind of like maybe like 16 different like points of rotation.
SNES Mario Kart.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. It's cool. It like it really works. It's like really distinct looking. And it's like total kind of cozy game. You explore this little town with these like, the writing's like kind of goofy. Like it's not amazing, but I'm not finding it too tedious, but it's like, it's got this really nice, like weird tone to it. And the driving around feels really fun. Like it'd be a good one for kids where it's like, this sort of like, there's no challenge to it in the sense of like combat or platforming or anything. You're just like, you kind of can't fail at anything you're doing. It's just like explore and investigate. Reminds me a bit of like a short hike. Like I sort of packed in on Steam with that of like that kind of game of like, just go explore and find stuff to do and poke around this little world. It's
an experience. It's not a challenge.
Yeah.
This and Little Kitty both sound like, hey, if you've got kids and an Xbox or whatever.
Yeah.
Download those and the kids might have a good time.
Well, I think this is only on Steam, so
shit,
dude.
Saying
to
I'm
the
sorry,
kids. Saying to kids,
fuck,
hey,
Christmas
kids,
is cancelled.
Sit down in front of the
promise.
Xbox. It's time to play Tiny Terry's Turbo Trip, and then searching for it. And you've typed it all out onto the store just to make certain.
God damn, I'm so sorry, kids.
We can play the Crazy Taxi like Xbox release on the Xbox.
Yeah, we can play that
store.
That's just as good.
Yeah,
you kids like The Offspring, right?
yeah, we do.
Woo!
One game the kids probably shouldn't go near because it's a little bit spooky.
Yeah.
Is the follow-up to the Exit 8.
Exit 8.
Called Platform 8.
Yep.
Same people, same ideas.
Yep, same bat channel.
It's
$6.
Yes.
Very cheap game.
Very cheap, very quick.
Yep.
To run through this. So if you didn't play the Exit 8, it is, or hear us talk about it, it is a game where you are in a loop of this sort of train tunnel, like walking between platforms type of thing, where you were charged with finding if there was an error or an oddity in the environment.
An anomaly.
An anomaly, that's the word they use.
Yes.
Then you to turn around, and if it's normal, barge ahead, and you got to do that 8 times, and then you're okay.
Now, did this come out quite recently, or is this another paper trail situation where you guys only got around to it quite recently?
I wouldn't dare to guess. No, this is just out.
Yeah,
the Exit 8 was pretty recent. I think it was towards the end of last year.
Yes, I believe it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then in between, I talked about Shinkansen Zero, which was different people, but a similar idea.
Yes, okay, yes.
Yeah.
And this is similar to that, but rather than turning around, you are going down these train carriages. You're on a train this time. Mm-hmm. And if there's something weird going on, it's going to be sort of like a little mini puzzle to solve usually.
Yeah. Some of it's a puzzle. Sometimes it's literally just wait.
Yep.
And I guess like if you go in without having noticed there is an anomaly happening, you reset your loop. But a lot of the time it's like, wait until you see, like one of them that's a cool one is like, you open the door to the train carriage, and then all of a sudden a giant hand comes through one of the doors, reaches around, goes out, comes in a different door. So you're like, okay, well, I got to wait till that's gone, and then you proceed through the carriage.
Mm-hmm.
Avoid the hand. Mm-hmm. There might be a little piece of text on the sort of next station coming up thing that'll give you some direction or whatever.
Yep.
Spooky ghost in the carriage. Don't look at the ghost, etc.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a bunch of anomalies similar to that you press through. Doing whatever task they might have you do. Maybe you've got to go and look at something specific on the carriage.
Yep.
Maybe you've got to find the right thing to interact with. All of them pretty simple. Some of them are just sort of things to freak you out, and there's nothing to really do, and you just walk through the carriage. Some carriages are normal.
Yeah.
Very simple.
It's all, there's no... I think the only guidelines they give you are in the first couple of times you go through the carriage, like look for anomalies, and if you see an anomaly, stop and wait. And all those like very minor sort of puzzles that Nox is referencing, you just have to intuit. Often, if you see like a ghost at the end of the carriage, maybe the first time you'll just walk around it and it'll come and get you. So the next time you're like, okay, well, I'd do something else.
Exactly. And if they get you, you reset. You've got to do it 8 times and then you're okay. But then you can go back through and look for all the anomalies. To do all of it, getting through and then finding all the anomalies took me less time than just getting through the Exit 8 the first time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Much quicker.
Yeah.
Still really creative, cool things happening.
Yeah.
I like seeing the ideas in it. And it's a neat little experience.
Yeah.
Not a ton to it.
No.
But not a ton to pay.
Exactly. A $6 experience where you get to see, I don't know, a dozen or so, a couple of dozen
There's like
creative ideas.
Or something like that.
Yeah, a couple of dozen creative ideas. Presented well. It is eerie, like the fact that it doesn't give you a lot of like, well, this button does this, and like it adds to that sort of mystique of the whole situation you're in.
Yeah.
And yes, like some of the ones are like, oh, the train stopped. You can go out of the train now if you want.
There's a ton of like, and I don't want to like give them all away, obviously, because singing them is the thing.
Yeah.
And I think even though this one I don't think is quite as much as cool as the Exit 8 was.
Yeah.
Partly because mechanically, the find the anomaly, hide and seek type of thing of the Exit 8 gave you a bit more to do in each one, but B, even in the normal ones, you were sort of freaking yourself out, like, am I missing something? And sometimes you had.
Yes.
It was a little more interesting, and this one
that was like you'd be like, okay, I'm at 7. I really don't want to fuck up. I'm walking up and down here. I don't want to go around the corner yet. And then you look up and there'd be something fucking crazy on the ceiling. And you're like, oh, wow, okay, that's such a good idea that This does not quite have that same level of
Not quite.
creativity.
I liked what it was doing, and it had some cool, spooky things. And a couple of times it had stuff where I was like, "Yikes!"
Yeah.
But and luckily I had my sign with me to hold.
Yeah,
up, or I
that's
would have been
good.
very
That's
embarrassed.
good.
But yeah, it's not quite there. But having said that, if they just kept putting these out with this same regularity between the Exit 8 and Platform 8, I would buy every one.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're just a few bucks. Like,
Yeah.
And I like the ideas they're coming up with. They're spooky.
It's like it's first person spot the difference, but I apparently enjoy that.
Yeah. And there's a lot. This one just doesn't quite measure up because the differences are much easier to spot.
Yes.
And the things it's asking you to do are pretty easy to figure out the first time around.
Yeah. And on top of that, the novelty of it as a
Yes.
concept is not there
Not
anymore.
there, yeah.
But I liked it, and yeah, like I say, keep doing it.
Yeah,
keep making
cool.
them. I liked that it tried a little twist, and it wasn't just the same forwards or backwards idea.
Yeah, I would have liked, and I guess it is like it being like, it's just like another corridor, basically. Like, I'm sure that they will be and have been thinking of like, how do we escalate this into a more complicated thing? But like, this was like 4 months after the previous one, so
Exactly.
you know.
I wouldn't mind them even going back to the last style of game that I found slightly more interesting.
Right.
Or trying a third thing. Whatever. Do what you want because you've got cool ideas and cool art happen. Like, you know, the
Do you want? Just definitely make it for the PSVR2, and then we're away.
Yeah.
Please. Then it will have all been worth it. A $6 spot the difference game
Yeah.
will validate every choice I've made.
One of
so
those
far.
every 4 months. Mwah.
Mwah.
That'd be me. Done.
That's a good. That's a good. Yeah.
Give me one every trimester, please.
Yeah. All right, well, that is going to do us for another week here at Filthy Casuals. Thank you for joining us. filthycasuals.com.au. Get onto the Patreon. We are a listener-supported show. We would love you guys to sign up. If you enjoy getting the show for free, you can get on the Patreon and you can get a bonus show every week that we do, where we talk about movies and TV shows and everything pop culture that's not video games that we've been consuming.
Totally. You get that, and it obviously lets us do that, and it lets us do this podcast too.
Yes.
So thank you everyone who does that.
Exactly right. And in 4, 5, 6 weeks might be a couple of little pleasant surprises on the Patreon as well.
I don't want to make more promises to my kids that I can't live up to, but these ones I will make, kids.
Yeah.
Mum's coming back.
Great time to get on board. Hey, tax time soon. If you own a business, spend all your money on Patreon.
Yes, good point.
Embezzle with us.
Yeah.
We got the YouTube channel. We got all the videos on there, hundreds of them. Go check that out. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you next time to wrap up all the announcements of the Summer Games Fest.
Yeah.
And the Xbox
that
thing and
that
all
have happened.
Sort of stuff.
The Ubisoft forward.
Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time, as we say here at the end of every episode of Filthy Casuals.
Yeah, good new episode. Oh, actually, the episode came out 2 years ago.
That's me.